It seems the banking sector is steaming ahead. We have had a few companies out with results, but of course we're still waiting for most of the banks to come through with those numbers. We know the banking sector has been performing quite well over the past while. Do you suspect this is going to continue after we see more confirmation on the earnings front?
Yes, we believe that will be the case. As you might know, in previous years, there was a bit of an overhang in the sense that some sectors, primarily the oil sector, the oil marketing sector wasn't doing quite well. That tended to impact a lot of banks. We also saw that deteriorating macroeconomic conditions in previous years also tended to have an impact on consumer demand, and in turn also had an impact on bank performance. But indications are, at least what we've seen with the release of CalBank's results, is that it's likely to be a quite strong year for the banks.
Yeah.
And CalBank's bottom line almost doubled, and we also have seen their impairment charges remain quite fairly stable over the period as well. And things are quite looking up for the banks.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at some of the other companies that did quite well, Unilever also came out with some really strong numbers. It seems that other companies really disappointed, or at least we didn't see fantastic numbers, one of them being the producer buying company. Of course, it is a cocoa company, didn't come out with those numbers that most people were expected. So in other words, we see pretty much a very mixed picture, and companies that are very exposed to the consumers seem to be faring far better.
Yes, well, if you look at the performance of most of the macroeconomic indicators, inflation, interest rates, etc., those have been trending quite favorably, and you'd realize that most of the consumer stocks will do quite well, and justifiably so, which is why Unilever Ghana did so well. Even if you adjust the results and take out the sale of its plantations to Wilmar International, it still shows quite strong growth now. Produce buying company, well, in the previous year in particular, they performed quite strongly. The results that have been released are for the first 3 months of the year, and there was a bit of a problem regarding congestion at the ports, and something also to do with some negotiations breaking down, which would prevent the taking over of beans from most of the licensed buying companies.
Yeah.
We believe that is more or less the reason why produce buying companies' results for the 3 months, they didn't do quite well.
Would you say that this company, or within the cocoa sector, exposure to the cocoa sector as an investor is very attractive right now? We know that demand is going to exceed supply in the next financial period. So do you think that this is an opportunity for investors?
Definitely, we see that as an opportunity for investment. Not just for those that are looking for exposure to cocoa, but also for exposure to share nut as well, because some of the players, most notably produce buying company, are actually looking to diversify their revenue streams and enter into share nut processing as well. They've been talking about this for a while. They are in the final stages of setting up a plant to do so as well. So we are looking at things are likely to be a lot better on that front, because they will be exporting that directly by themselves, in a sense, and giving them some foreign exchange. Whereas in the case of cocoa, they sell it to Cocoa Board, and in a sense, they just make the cities.
Let's also touch on the Ghanaian government divesting from two companies, Bonza Tires and Giokos Glass as well. What is this message that is being given to the private sector? And obviously this is going to open quite a few opportunities for private investors.
Well, we've had this state divestiture thing go on since the early to mid-90s, and we haven't seen it rapidly divest itself of most companies. But let me just say first and foremost over here right now that these two companies that have been slated are by no means any major companies, ones with any serious money, really. Ones that people would actually be looking out for would be cash cows, like you could say the state media company, the state paper, graphic communications. Companies like that are a lot more attractive. They have a lot more appeal, are more or less cash cows, and as such. The likes of Giokos Glass and Bonza Tires are very old. I dare say that most of the supply of such products are filled mostly by importers. They are largely defunct, and any sense of what opportunity from the private sector would be minimalist at best, because it will involve a huge amount of investment to turn these companies around.